is one of the most dangerous drugs in the US market right now. Fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin and 100 times more potent than morphine. In the year of 2019 alone, over 36,000 overdoses happened in the US. In that same year, US Border Patrol and Customs, sorry about that, US Border Patrol and Customs caught over 2,000 pounds of fentanyl. How are people still managing to die with these border patrols capturing so much? That shows you how much is being smuggled into the US today. It wasn't always like this though. China was the head smuggler into the US for fentanyl. They would send packages and packages and packages through the mail until DEA got a hold of one of the packages and suddenly recognized where all these fentanyls coming from. They started checking 75% of all mail coming to the US from China. That's where Mexico came into play. Mexico seen an advantage in this opportunity and got a hold of China, and they linked up together to send fentanyl to the US from Mexico. Contacts from China sent precursor chemicals into the ocean where the Sinaloa cartel, not just Mexico, the Sinaloa cartel specifically, because they are the kings of fentanyl smuggling. The Sinaloa cartel picks up precursor chemicals in the ocean at an undisclosed coordinate location in small boats, tiny boats, where people barely fit, and they stack packages and packages of fentanyl, up to $1 million of product. This is all seen firsthand on Vice News, which is in my references. If you would like to watch that, it is an amazing documentary about fentanyl smuggling. Even in a different Van Zeller interview, a professional fentanyl smuggler said that the fentanyl was a boom in the underworld economy for Mexico, because they are packaging so much fentanyl and moving so much fentanyl through the US border that it is insane. How do people still do it? How do you still manage to love something that is so dangerous for your body? How? Fentanyl is the most popular opioid on the street, and it is the key ingredient into smuggling. US Border Patrol spends millions and maybe even billions of dollars to have state-of-the-art ingenuity to protect all these drugs from coming in. And these homemade engineers that come up with you can't say they're dumb ideas, because they're getting these drugs across. In the same Vice documentary, actually it was the Van Zeller documentary, sorry about that. In the Van Zeller documentary, they show that they're putting mustard, dog food, laundry detergent, all these different types of wraps, and they just coat it and to get it past the dogs, and they wrap it this way to get it past the cameras. It's crazy the type of brain they have just to get across these drugs. But after these drugs get across, how do they get to you? How do they get to you and manage to overdose you? In an interview, Van Zeller said, how do you manage to send all these drugs across and send them to the US knowing that they're killing people? The Sinaloa cartel said themselves that they have state-of-the-art pharmacists that cook these chemicals and they make this fentanyl, and they know for a fact that it is not killing the people there. They said that the US government, not the US government, I'm sorry about that, that is so wrong. The US citizens are cutting these products and putting their own little liquids in there to get them across, and that is what's killing these people. So in reality, whose problem is it? Mexico's problem or the US's problem that they're adding wrong chemicals, and that is what's killing all these people? We seen a perfect interview of an actual transporter across what they call mules, they said exactly. And they said that the girl, she's probably done 10 trips with over maybe 30 kilos. That's a lot. I believe it was DEA, the DEA website, they said that 1 kilo can overdose over 500,000 people. So if they're smuggling pounds and pounds and kilos into the US, how are they managing to take all of this? How are they consuming all of this? Where is it all coming from? And what are we going to do to stop it? The question is, we can't do nothing. Mexico has not stopped supplying since the start of the cartel, since the 60s. And DEA, law enforcement, Mexican government, US government, they've done so many things to stop it, and it's not Mexico's problem. It's the US's problem. If the US doesn't want drugs, no, Mexico can't ship because nobody will be buying. It's supply and demand. As long as there's going to be demand in the US, there's always going to be supply, and there's always going to be a different way to smuggle drugs into the US. As soon as they get it across the border, they take it to the big cities right next to the border. Atlanta, Texas, Houston, Austin, McAllen, Phoenix, LA. Those are big distributors for fentanyl. And from there, they get them all over the place. Stockton. Stockton is a big place full of heroin addicts and big place full of fentanyl addicts. And and Roy Donovan himself, the head of the DEA, said that the Sinaloa cartel is responsible for 80% of the fentanyl coming into the U.S. That is big. Thank you, everybody, for listening on my speech about fentanyl smuggling.